Hello,
Woo!
guys. Hello. Yes. Well, sorry for the starting late. We had some technical difficulties, and there are some guests that still have. Oh, there's John Bryant. There's some still have some hard time joining in. So either they're going to try to join in later, or it's going to be just us. So let me please introduce first to we got Seymour Duncan. We got Greg
Hi
Koch over
guys.
here. We got John Bryant, which is probably a lot of people don't know, but John Bryant is the son of the great Jimmy Bryant. And we got Cody Young over here that's going to help moderate
Hello.
and try to take care of everything else.
Like Paul Rose
say what?
Paul Rose just came in.
Yeah, Paul Roses just says, "Hey, we can have him join in if he wants to." But let me start this, guys. It's been kind of like a weird.
Eric.
Eric Ingram. I think I
Heck
think
yeah.
I said Eric Ingram.
Hey,
Yeah,
everybody.
Eric is actually working with me. He's a great engineer, and he's been working with me for the last I don't know, maybe 5 years almost right now. I think.
Yep. We've been
Right.
having some fun on some projects. Yep.
Right. So hey, I want to start with something kind of I had on my mind for a long time, and that's for Greg.
Uh-oh.
Yes. So, Greg, Seymour and I think, well, Seymour know you way more than me, but I think we met, gosh, it's almost 17 years ago, if you believe it or not.
That's insane.
It is insane. But there's one thing about you that never change. And I need to know how you do it and what you drink to be so happy and just have good time every single time I see you.
It's because I'm hung like a mastodon.
But seriously, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen you upset, not laughing or not joking around. It's like either whenever we meet that name, it's always like it's like a fun. It's like, where's Greg? I mean, we need to see his big smile, And then,
you see me at the good times.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, I'm pretty well. I'm in a good mood most of the time. The only time I really kind of lose my mind is with technology, like you were just going through with the.
Yes.
That's I go from zero to like insane person in like 3 seconds. Like
yes.
No, I don't believe that.
So as long as you don't see me dealing with technology, I'm usually in a good mood.
Well, but I mean, I'm watching your videos and I'm watching you, and you do videos every single day, at least for the last 2 years. And darn it, I never seen you upset once. Right, Seymour? I mean, have you ever seen Greg upset? Oh. Did we lose Seymour?
We lost Seymour's audio. Sorry.
Yeah, Seymour, we can't hear you. Cody, can you send Seymour a message telling him we can't hear him?
Sure. It looks like he
might he might have a technical difficulties right now. You're probably pressed on a mute or something. Seymour. Well, okay. Well, then we'll hear from Seymour later. But Greg, do you know John Bryant?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think when we first met. It was a long time ago too. It was at a NAMM show a long time ago.
Yes. Yeah.
Of course, I was a big fan of his dad, so we started talking about all that kind of stuff, and then he came out to see our band when we played out in Long Beach. That was January of, or maybe it was January of 2020 before the pestilence struck.
Oh wow.
Yes, we were out there.
Oh, wait a minute. I got, who is this? John D'Amato and Kevin C. So, John.
Yes.
Well, first of all, good to see you. Good Lord, it's been for. I know you visited me a couple of years ago, but it's almost like we're all waiting for Nam. It's like a reunion kind of a thing, and it sure looks like it's been a long time ago, right?
Well, it feels like I'm at a NAM show, mini NAM show right here, seeing my friends. And the only guy that's got one name up is Seymour. He's that's all he needs, man. It's good to
Yeah.
see Seymour. Man, I love you, Greg. Yeah, that first time we met, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing with you, man. And you still blow me away every time I see you.
Oh, well, thank you.
So
Seymour, are you with us?
I can hear you.
There you go.
Yep,
Now
there he
You're
is.
back. So anyway, back to the other question. I was asking you, do you ever remember Greg not happy or laughing? And we lost you. So
I said I've never seen Greg or heard Greg hit a wrong note. You guys, he's a master, man. I'll tell you.
Oh, you're too kind.
No, you're a great player, man. Boy.
yeah. I thought about it. If there was a Comedy Central for guitar players, I think you're gonna be the king of comedy. Because if and I'm talking now to the people that's seeing us, you guys need to see Greg, because it's almost like his face is in tune with his fingers. it's just hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it.
A misspent youth. That's what happened.
Hold on.
We've got a few
Something
people
happened
in the chat here. Michael Burrell.
That's my buddy Michael Burrell from Minneapolis.
Hey, yeah. Rick Berthod, and
Yeah,
and Paul Rose.
Paul Rose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Paul Rose from Paul. Greg, do you know Paul Rose? He's from England. Do you know him?
I don't know if we ever met in person.
Well, you better, go and check his YouTube. I mean, he is a phenomenal player. I mean, I think Seymour, we call him kind of like a the sweet playing, right? He got like a really nice tone,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
beautiful melodies when he plays.
Always a player.
Say what?
He's always a great player too, man.
Yeah.
Watching him, and he's great videos all the time. And Rick
Yeah.
Berthod, he worked at Fender for a long time, and now he's does a lot of work for us at the factory, does machining and everything. And he's got a blues band out of Las Vegas, and he's going to be having a new CD out and everything too. I wish I could have played on it, but my hands are so bad that it makes it difficult,
Hey, Cody, can you send Paul the link? See, maybe he can join us.
Yeah. Let me see
And
if I
if
can
Paul
send
can
him a
hear
message
me,
here.
if you have, I think I sent the link to the stream on social media. So if you have it, try to log in and we'll try to bring you in. I talked to, first of all, I don't think Richard Bennett will be able to join us. He had some major, I was with him on the phone and he was trying to log in a couple of times and I don't know what happened. And it looks like Steve also had some problems. I have no idea what's going on. Have you used this before, Greg, the Restream thing?
Restream is what we use to do all of our live streams. So what's nice about it is because you can go on several platforms at the same time. So
right. So you're saying it works better on Chrome rather than Safari?
That's what I was told. Yes.
Okay. Well, maybe that's the issue. So I don't know. John. So I think John has a little surprise for all of us. I talked to him earlier today, and he asked if that's going to be cool, and I tell him, "Are you kidding me?" Yes. So John, you want to take the stage and?
Well, these gentlemen right here probably have seen. I mean, I just wanted to share a couple
Can't
of
hear
dads.
him.
Let's see. I just wanted to share a couple of dad's guitars or whatever. And,
Yes.
I mean, it's just for fun, right? So
Yeah.
but
I can't hear John at all.
just
Really?
just realize that that people out there that I'm a drummer, so I'm not gonna play the guitars. I wish Greg was here right now. He could just take over, but yeah, I'll be right back. I'll be right backstage.
Okay.
But
So
Steve, you can hear us, right?
No,
who? Seymour?
Here I am.
Seymour
Yeah,
can hear us.
I couldn't hear John at all. Not.
Oh,
Oh,
it's weird.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
Which one is that?
this one is
Tell
a
Cody no.
59 telly that
Audio settings. I don't know where the heck to go there.
that
Okay, let me try this. See here.
my brother had when he was
me see,
younger, and what my brother did
That's
was
weird. Yeah, I can't hear John though.
Seymour, we can hear you
Seymour.
talking over John.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I was answering Cody. Cody was texting.
Okay.
Plus, Seymour, you need to get out of that house more.
I don't know where to go. I have no idea.
It's gonna be a comedy show today.
Well, this, seriously, Sage, you're doing this, and I think it's great. And this is the first time you're doing this streaming, so this is all good. I mean, the next ones that you do are going to be just even better. So all this comical stuff is great. So
Yes.
Oh, there's Steve. You guys talk, and I'll see what Steve wants. Go ahead.
But so this thing, my brother had when he was
Testing.
younger,
1, 2.
and he painted it white, believe it or not. And Mark Kendrick at the custom shop actually had it for 3 years and painstakingly restored it because he opened it up and found the red inside, and just a beautiful playing guitar.
Awesome.
It sounds amazing. Just, like I said, Greg, I wish you were here to play it, but beautiful guitar. So
Does your
there you
brother
go.
still play or no?
Oh, heck, man, this sounds great. The
But
neck
does your brother
is
still play?
Pardon me?
Does your brother still play?
Well, I thought he was going to be on. Maybe he's on watching, but he does play some. Yep, and he's got some guitars. I've got other guitars here. I'll show you. This is kind of a fun guitar to look at. This was the prototype Magnetone that they made early 60s, mid 60s, which was on the cover of one of my dad's albums. And you can see that they had to do the photo shoot for the album cover. So they quickly put on this decal Magnetone with that M. It's kind of crazy, but just a really cool guitar. It's really light. I had this thing. I gave it to the Hard Rock, to display in Hollywood. And after about 6 years, I called them up and I said, "Hey, man, I need to get that guitar back," and they couldn't find it. So little upset, but they finally found it in Texas. So I got it back, but this is a treasure. And this one actually, does not play. So
Oh, it doesn't.
yeah, you can plug it in with one pickup. It you get some sounds out of it, but the neck still feels good. And it's funny, kind of. It's a real thin neck, and I'm sure Dad just must have beat this thing up quite a bit. So yeah, all right, I'll send it back to you guys. I'm here as a fan of you guys, so I mean, I'll just let you guys take it over, man. But Paul Rose, thanks. I appreciate the love for towards my dad, and he was one of a kind for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Hey.
I see Paul Rose just joined us, but we don't see him. I don't see his video, but
No, he hasn't. It doesn't look like his camera's.
yeah, did you
activated
send
at
him
the
a
moment.
message?
But Seymour
Okay.
just.
So John, I'm sorry, I was on the phone with Steve. Steve Trovato was trying to get in and he couldn't. So which guitars did you show them? I mean, don't show it again, just
Yeah,
kinda
no,
briefly.
it's the one is just a telly, custom from a long time ago that got Mark Kendrick, at the custom shop
Right.
redid and brought back to life. But the other one's a Magnetone from the 60s. It's just kind of a couple guitars. I got others, but I'd love to hear some stories from somebody else, you know. And I'd love to see who else is on this session today, as far as people that are coming in from around the world.
Right.
Yeah. Hey,
I think
Sage.
we have I think we have Steve Parcell, right? Oh, yeah, and his audio is what is going on
There's some
today?
farm animal activity.
Steve, we can't hear you. I mean, you sound like an alien from another
It's time for full disclosure.
yeah, full disclosure, right?
Hey, Sage. Paul
yeah.
is saying that that his mic and camera have been denied. Are you able to control?
Well,
when you let people in?
I clicked him. He's on. I'll try to click them on again. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Paul Rose. No, he's gone. And there he is again.
He has returned.
Yeah, I don't know why. So okay. Good grief. I don't know. I'm gonna have to talk to Restream tomorrow and see what the heck is going on. Now where's Seymour go?
He just
he stood up and he walked off camera
away.
momentarily.
Okay. I was just about to ask him something to tell us, but I guess okay, fine. So Greg.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you something, you know, for us and people who are watching us. So ever since COVID, I guess, you know, probably live shows were kind of like diminished to almost nothing, right?
Right. Exactly.
So do you do lessons online? What do you do during this time other than just making us laugh on camera?
Well, you know, all the stuff I did for Wildwood Guitars, I would always go out to Colorado, you know, once a month for 4 days. Then as soon as COVID started, I couldn't do that.
Right.
So they started sending me guitars to do live streams with from my orange room here. So
okay.
I started doing live streams maybe the last week in March of 2020 and have been doing them ever since. So I do 2 for Wildwood every week, and then I do 2 for Fishman. Fishman was already kind of pivoting to have me do stuff virtually anyway. So this just kind of forced the issue.
Right.
So they started sending me gear because I'm a total, as I alluded to earlier, technology and I are, well, let's say we have issues. So gradually, I mean, I initially was just going live with a laptop and like a USB mic, and then we switched to, I mean, now it's like we got a studio set up here so we can do full band live streams, and I got a guy that zaps into my computer from Boston who does sound and switches cameras, although I do have a little foot switch where I can switch the different camera angles. And so I do 4 to 5 live streams a week. And as a result, I mean, all the different companies I'm affiliated with, you know, although we haven't been able to do live shows, people are buying gear like it's going out of style. So
right.
That aspect of it's been great. So I've been doing that. And then I started, you know, I do a bunch of Skype lessons. I started my own podcast. I've done a bunch of that stuff. And that's kind of Wildwood and Fishman sponsored. And so I've been doing that. And yeah, so we started to do a few live gigs starting in September. We started to do stuff again. And then COVID fired up again. So I had a tour of Europe. We had to cancel that. So I'm back to just, you know, doing the live streams, continuing with that. But, you know, it's been really, really good. It's sad. I mean, as much as COVID's been awful for a lot of people, for me, it's been great because I've been able to do these live streams from the house and people have been tuning in. So it's been good.
That's great. I see
Looks
Paul
like
is
we
with
can-
us.
yeah,
Paul,
we
can you
finally
hear
see
us?
Paul.
Can you hear us?
Well,
But
we can
can't hear
see him.
Paul.
We
So
still
Cody,
can't
can
hear
you-
him.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Paul. So Cody, can you communicate with him so I can go on with the other guys and see when we can get him?
Yep.
So Greg, so it looks like you're pretty, maybe even busier than before.
Well, you know what? It's kind of funny because, as I said, I'd go out to Wildwood, you know, 4 days a month, and we would shoot a lot of videos.
Right.
And I would do 20 to 25 videos a day for those 4 days straight, right? So
Wow. It's
now,
crazy.
the guitars are coming here. I mean, there's not as many, but
Right.
so I'm a shipping and receiving department, and then I do the live streams, and I do individual shots with the guitars, and then yada yada yada. So it's pretty busy. I mean, I usually gone between 125 and 150 days out of the year on most years.
Right.
So I've been home, which I've been enjoying, but I do, the 4 to 5 live streams a week and all the other stuff on top of it. So it's a different kind of busy, but I'm sleeping in my own bed and I dig it. I got to be honest with you.
Yes.
The other thing I always mention this about going on the road is that, you're always putting your expenses on your credit card and you get reimbursed for all that stuff. But a lot of times that money doesn't go for the credit card. You end up spending it on something else. So next thing you know, you got a bunch of money on your credit card. And now since I've been on, I got like 0 credit card balance. I'm like, I can't wait to go on the road again. I'm like, wait a minute.
I bet. That's pretty cool. Now, Seymour, are you back with us, right? Yeah, no voice again. We can't hear you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Is that Paul?
Yes,
we
it
can
is.
hear Seymour.
Good evening.
Paul.
Hello.
Hey,
there.
Paul, how are you? Good
Very
to
good
have
indeed.
you.
Nice to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's I kind of invited myself. I was so excited when you sent me that text yesterday. I thought, oh, great, I want to be a part of that. So forgive me for pushing in, but I just was excited to be a part of it with you.
No, it's great, and we were supposed to have Richard Bennett, and he had some technical difficulties coming on. So, I mean,
Right.
It looks like, I don't know, the universe today is trying to give us a little bit of a hard time. But, hey, we'll do what we can.
Yeah.
But, I just told Greg about you a little bit, and I told him to go ahead and check you out on YouTube. And I remember Seymour was telling me about you years ago, and he said, Sage, hey, you got to go on YouTube and check that guy, Paul Rose, because you're going to love his tone and his playing. And I think the first video I saw was like, oh my God, yes, this is the kind of stuff I love. And that's what I told Greg over here, that he will really enjoy what you do.
I got it dialed in. I already looked it up. I got it ready to go, Paul.
Well, Greg, nice to meet you, Greg. Obviously, I'm well aware of who you are, and I've seen your stuff online, and it's fantastic. And
thank you.
So it's a pleasure to meet you, and it's great to hook up, and maybe we can stay in touch. I don't know. Tell me, is NAMM happening? Is NAMM going to happen, or is it off? Or how are they doing it this year?
They moved. Well, they canceled the summer NAMM altogether, and then the winter NAMM now going to become a one summer NAMM in LA, and they move it to June.
Right.
So no more January NAMM. It's going to be June.
Right.
And that's it. It's going to be once a year. So now I'm not sure I'm going to go this year. I mean, we have to see how COVID is doing. Greg, are you going?
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we don't know. I mean, I guess we have to play by ear and see how it goes.
Well, I'm going.
Who is it?
I'm going. I live right here, so I'm going.
Oh, John. I was like, who's it?
Well, I will say that, being in Wisconsin, it was always nice to go to Anaheim in January.
Well, I tell you what John will do. It doesn't matter if NAMM happened or not. He's going to book a room for 4 days, and he's like going to show up, and he's like, nobody's here, and he's going to go back home. Right, John?
We had some fun. We had some fun.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's nice to see Seymour again. I haven't seen you for a few years, Seymour. I think the last time I saw you would have been in Santa Barbara. I can't remember. Is it 4 years ago or 5 years ago or something like that? But it's nice to see you again. I'm in Newcastle, we're about an hour south of the Scottish border. So I'm very much out of touch with what's happening in the US. I wish it wasn't so, but it's so here we are, I guess.
So are you in Newcastle? What's considered to be the Spanish city?
Do you know the Spanish city? We used to go there when we were kids. The one that Martin Offler sings about.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I was just
absolutely.
about to say that.
It's about 3 miles down the road from here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You know, it's such a shame that we couldn't get Richard Bennett with us. You know, Richard been with Mark Knopfler for about 30 years now, so I'm
Right.
sure we would have heard some cool stories. But I guess he had some computer stuff. Paul, do you know Chris Rea?
Not personally. I've met him, but not personally. But I certainly know who you mean. Yeah.
Anybody here know who Chris Rea is? I know Seymour does.
Yep.
Greg, you know Chris Rea?
I don't know him personally, but I definitely know who he is.
Right. Seymour, are you back with us?
We're still working on his audio.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. We got Steve again with that.
Aliens.
Your alien voice is going through like crazy over here. Exactly.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know. It's like every time you open your mouth, you sound like you're like a War of the World alien thing. By the way, guys, you know, as we go, I want to make it clear to the people out there and also for us, if anyone doesn't feel comfortable answering anything or talk about anything, just say it out loud and we're gonna move on. Mm-hmm. And then if you have to leave, let us know, and we'll be sad losing you, but I just want to make it easy on all of us. Paul, I know you also, you know, you probably saw Greg is online every day. I don't know. I think, Greg, did you wake up at 5 and go to bed at 5 a.m., like 5 from 5? Every time I turn on Facebook or Instagram, it's like, boom, there's Greg.
Well, in the morning, I'll usually sit down and do a quick one for Instagram, and it's just whatever in the moment inspires me or doesn't inspire me.
Yeah,
and I'll just do like a little snippet, and then out the door I go. And and it's just for the fun of it. You know, one of the things about Instagram that I like is that you know, if I can play something that I can stand for 60 seconds or 25 seconds, whatever the case is, and that's a good exercise.
Right. Yes.
I can play something I can listen back and go, that's tolerable. I'll throw that up there and see what happens. And there's, you know, usually, you know, sometimes it's to promote gigs or whatever the case may be, but you know, 90% of the time it's just for the fun of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll usually do that before my morning walk, or of course it's so damn cold now, I'm not walking anywhere. But I don't think it sucks about it when it gets to be cold here and the snow's on the ground and the ice, the walks become perilous. So then I got to start curtailing my eating activity, or I'm going to be like Jabba the Hutt until like March.
Where are you, Greg? Whereabouts are you in the U.S.?
I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Right. Okay. Up north. Yeah.
Yes. So it gets a bit
Paul,
cold.
Paul, so do you also, like Greg, trying to keep the YouTube channel? Because I know you do that almost every day, right?
What I do is I do one live show every Sunday night, which incidentally, any one of you people who want to come and join me, you're welcome to be a guest with me. I would be delighted to have any of you.
Awesome.
But I do like an hour and a half, 2 hour show, and then I do kind of like something during the week. But I also chop them up. If like one number goes really well, if I thought I played really well there, or that sounds really nice, I'll cut it out and I'll put it out as a standalone, you know. But I've invested a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of brain power into trying to get the quality of picture and audio as high as I possibly can with what I have. And basically everything that Greg said, I completely identify with. Like, we've got 70 gigs and they've been picked up and moved and then picked up and moved and picked up and moved. And it's driving me crazy. And you got to say to yourself, when? Please, God, in the very, very, when are we going to get moving again? You know, I've joined basically Rory Gallagher's band. Obviously, Rory Gallagher isn't with us anymore, obviously, but I'm in his band with his bass player and drummer. And we're going to be playing in the US. We've got all of this stuff. And we're just sitting in the bloody house waiting, you know. And this is the longest I've been in one place since I was 16. You know,
Wow.
I was always going somewhere and doing something, even if it's just London, Leeds, Glasgow, Edinburgh. But it's like, well, you know, what am I saying that we guys all out there don't already know? You know, it's a big challenge, this.
Yeah. You know, I can share something with you guys that, you know, the people that are close to me, they know that, but I guess I can just share it out to the world and all that. My wife has an underlying condition, so because of COVID, I have to be very, very careful. And, you know, although we're vaccinated and everything, I still have to be careful. I stayed in my shop over here since March 2020. So I think the only time I left the house was this past July, when before Delta was kind of like a big thing. We thought, we're like, okay, that's it, we're over. I think we went out to a restaurant one time, but that's the only time in 2 years that I literally left the house. I mean, last time I saw a friend was 2 years ago. So that affected my mental stage pretty bad. And the one thing that I'm upset is that I didn't touch my guitar for 2 years. And it's funny because the guitar and music was the only thing in my life that actually helped me through hard times. And this is the first time in 40 years that I couldn't hold a guitar. I'm taking the guitar and like 3 seconds later, I can't do it.
Really?
So I guess whatever we were going through for the last 2 years affected people different ways, you know.
Right.
I'm just hoping I'm going to get out of it soon because I just miss my baby. You know, and I'm sure you guys, the guitar players, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, Seymour, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there you are.
too.
Okay. Hey, we can hear you.
hallelujah.
Aye.
He's back.
So you can hear me?
Seymour,
Yes.
Cody's been-
now that we can
Cody's been
finally
helping.
ask you a question or two.
Yeah, no.
Okay, there we go. I thought I lost you again. So, hey, can you maybe share a cool story with us from your, I don't want to say how many years in the business, but a long time. Maybe something cool that you remember.
I remember, you know, when I was probably about 12 or 13, my uncle Bid Furness, who was a trumpet player for Paul Whiteman's orchestra back around the Philadelphia area, he took me to Steel Pier in Atlantic City, and which was a pretty neat place. That's where they had the jumping horse into the big barrel. Has anybody ever seen a jumping horse? So that was from back in Jersey. So anyway, I got into this auditorium in Steel Pier, and they put me in the front row. And all of a sudden, I hear down, 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 and the curtains open up, and it's Les.
There we go. I lost him again.
Oh.
I think he said Les Paul.
Les Paul. Yes, just
Right.
going to say Les Paul.
Seymour, we lost you again. We heard Les, and that's it. Oh, damn it.
Oh, damn
I
it.
think
Give me a
what's
break.
guys, I think what's happening is there's a feedback loop on Seymour's side. So if we talk, it cuts him off. So let's try this. Seymour.
No.
Test your mic, Seymour.
The demon has returned.
The demon is back.
Steve.
Can you hear us? Okay. Steve Parcell. Do you guys hear me? Anybody?
I hear you. Yes,
Yeah,
I hear you.
I
okay.
wish
Yeah.
we could hear Steve.
Yeah, it looks like there's a few people in here that have issues with their microphone. It looks like Steve is frozen. Let me see.
Look at
If
all
I
the
can-
look at all the guitars in the background of Steve. Look at all those guitars in the background.
Yeah.
I want to try something here, Steve. If you mute yourself and then we stay quiet, let's see what happens with Seymour's audio.
Let's try that.
Somehow Steve is frozen on my side. I have no idea. Well, okay. This is a hell of a live stream, but who cares? It's COVID time, so
It's
I don't
COVID
care.
time.
I don't care. Eric Ingram, do you have any question for the people around?
Wow, no direct questions. I'm just glad to meet you and hear about you and the different things you do in your history. So I'm enjoying it.
The people that I don't know if I mentioned in the beginning, but Eric and I work together for quite a few years, and he's doing audio and studio equipment on the side. But Eric, tell us what's your main thing that you do.
On the audio side, what I do is design equipment for recording studios. I focus mostly on mic preamps has been one of the emphasis that I've had over the years. But now I've done equalizers, and then channel strip is one of the recent products. So I really come from a background of being a musician first since I was a kid, and had a stint playing in bands and recording and touring around a little bit. Nothing like what you guys do, by any stretch of the imagination. But when I got out of that angle, I put more of my energy into designing gear. I was always very curious about the equipment that we used in the studio, or what makes things sound the way they do. Trying to connect up what I hear and like with how do you make gear that can do that, and over the years, I'm also a trained electrical engineer. I did study that in school, so I had sort of these dual paths going on at the same time. Being an electrical engineer for various companies, and then also being this musician, and then started up my little side business to try to connect up the worlds, connect everything up, and just apply the love of music and the knowledge of engineering, and try to offer something, to give something back, in some sort of way. So that's kind of how the company started. And I just fascinated with audio gear and sounds and music. And in the course of my travels, I ended up meeting Sage in Nashville. And so we just hit it off really well. And then over time, talked more and more about different gear possibilities, and just sort of naturally fell into working together on some things for his business. So we've had a good time, and we've got some cool things in the works.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about Eric, when we start working together, is the one thing I'm proud of with the stuff that I build. I pay a lot of attention to details, and we sometimes can spend 2 years on just one design, because we're looking deep into the details. I mean, in fact, Eric and I were just finishing a project that we started working 3 years ago. And about 2 weeks ago, I sent him one of the prototypes, and I said, Eric, listen, there's something here that I hear that I don't like. And he's getting it, and he's like, well, I don't hear it. So, but so I'm very, very tuned to details. And Greg, I don't know if you know, and I don't know if John knows, and a lot of people don't know, I'm deaf on one side.
Oh.
Ever since I was 4 years old, completely deaf. But what happened is my other ear became so sensitive to hear stuff that maybe normal people don't hear it. So in a way, it helped me, when I'm doing my designs. It's because I hear the details. I hear stuff that are hidden then maybe you're not gonna notice right away, but I can hear them.
Right.
And the cool thing about Eric, that he's not frustrated with me, because Eric, how many times I've sent you stuff? It's like, dude, man, I hear this. It's like, well, I don't hear it, but I don't care you don't hear it, but I do. So he, he really, he's patient with me, but his knowledge about the stuff that he does helped me a lot, and actually improve everything that either I know or even the stuff that I build, improve it tremendously. So I'm really happy that Eric joined the force. You know what I'm?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, joined the force. So
Yeah.
but anyway, John, how are you dealing with this past 2 years?
Myself, I mean, as opposed to other folks that are on this call, I'm in cybersecurity. So, cybersecurity startups, we're doing fine. That's why I love music so much. Not only because of, growing up in it, but knowing people like that are on this session.
Now, hold on. Did you say cybersecurity?
Yeah, but
is it possible that maybe some of your enemies are, I don't want to say the word FU, whatever, with my stream right now?
Sabotage.
No, I hope not. But
I'm just joking.
It's funny that when I look back at I'm 62 now, so I can look back, and my brother may be on this session. My dad's brother may be on this session. I don't know, but it's really interesting, because just to have a dad like that. Like, I go through stuff, and I've got this 45. It's got a gold sleeve,
Wow.
and it's the Capitol Records Tower, and everybody that was at the Capitol Records Tower for that grand opening party, they were given one of these records, and my mom kept it, and I have that, and I look at that and think, oh my gosh, what a night that must have been, right? It's just things that I have from my dad that, I mean, it really blows me away in regards to, even players like Greg that and Paul that like my dad, and his playing just blows me away. And I played drums my whole life, but it's on a personal level, it's I've got this thing in my head that I'm never good enough. Having a dad like Jimmy Bryant. I mean, it's and I've had a conversation with Jason Bonham. We were on a plane to Jamaica, and his son is the same way. His son he's just got this feeling, like when he goes up on stage, that it's just so much pressure, even though Jason didn't have it. But so the reason why I'm sharing that is because I want you guys to know a little bit more about me as well. But Dad was freaking incredible. I mean, just unbelievable, the stuff that and me being a drummer. I mean, I just know, from living with him and just being a part of this whole history of Jimmy Bryant. I really appreciate people that come up and say things about my dad, tell me stories, but it's been interesting to be Jimmy Bryant's son, and I don't say that with any ego or anything. I just say it because I've met so many great people because of it, and the folks on this session. So I really appreciate you guys.
John,
I'm going to return to you 1 second. Steve is joining us. Steve, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh!
Hey,
Yes.
okay.
Excellent.
Finally.
Hey, all right.
Hey, I'm going to come back to you just a second. I wanted to ask John something.
Yes, sir.
John, you were talking about that, just the last few sentences you were talking about, that you're being humble and all that. And this is true, because I remember with the first time I met John, and I think it's also like maybe 17 years ago. I mean, it has to be either 17 or 20 years ago. But I remember it's when Seymour uh, got me to the NAM show. Maybe it's one of the first time when I started working with Seymour. And that week, I bought the Jimmy Bryant and Speedy West box set.
Amazing.
And it was just that week that I was listening, and it's first of all, it's the first time I was exposed to somebody, Jimmy Bryant. I didn't know who it was, but I was listening to it, and I was mesmerized. And then when we got to NAMM, here you are, you coming in all smiley and pretty and beautiful women around you and all this. And Seymour says, "Hey, do you know who's this guy?" And I like, "No." He said, "That's Jimmy Bryant's son." And I remember, uh, you know, I froze for a second, but you were so kind, and it's almost like you came to me as I was the big deal. And I don't know, maybe because I was with Seymour, you thought I was a big deal, but I was only like a little boy in California. But I remember the first time we met, and ever since, you're very humble, you're very kind, and being the son of a legend never got to your head like maybe some others. But do you guys agree? Whoever know John
Yes.
personally? Yeah. So, John, thank you for being who you are.
Well, I Paul Rose. I haven't seen you play live, and when you come over to, if you get to California, that'd be awesome.
I'll be there.
Steve, man, you guys, I can't wait. Till this COVID goes away and we can get back to music.
Yes.
Can I ask John a question?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Very, very quickly. John, do you know what kind of gauge strings your father played and what kind of action he had on the guitar?
Oh my gosh, that is. There's no way to even know that.
Right. Okay.
It's funny because I know that Ernie Ball in the '60s, he thought there was a better way because he thought there was a better way to enable guitar players to only buy one string if they need it. If they break a string, they want to go in and buy a string. So he put in these in the valley, these stands that had tubes in them, the different gauge of strings, and guitar players could buy one string. And look at where they're at now. I mean, they have 3 or 4 of the top 10 selling products in the music industry. They continue to do that every year, it seems like. But back then, I mean, no way knowing what my dad had in regards to gauge, anything else, because he could play anything.
Right.
I mean, it sounds weird to say that, but he could pick up any guitar and it'd probably sound great. And I'll share a story real quick because he was, him and Scotty Turner were going through Arizona, and they went into this bar, and this guy was playing guitar on stage with a band, and Scotty said, "Hey, you mind if my friend sits in with you guys?" And they go, "No way, man! Nobody's gonna sit in with us," And then Scotty said it again, and the guy said, "Okay, go ahead," And he gets up on stage, and so my dad says, "What do you want?" Or they asked him, and he said, "I don't know, 3 flats or what," And so they started playing, and Scotty Turner said he just ripped. I mean, just ripped. And after the song, he came off the stage, put his guitar out, and they walked out. I mean, it's stories like that even hearing stories from Les Paul and these great guys, because it's one time Les Paul flew into Nashville. My dad never flew. He would drive his Cadillac across all the way to Nashville and back. He would never fly. But he knew that Les was staying at this one hotel. So he went to that hotel and he paid this bellboy, this bellhop, $20 or whatever it was to get his uniform. And when Les came up in the car, he's like kind of keeping his head down. He's, "Oh, Mr. Paul, you're such a great guitar player. Just, oh man, it's so great to see you. And no, let me grab your stuff." And he's walking in and carrying his stuff. And finally, Les Paul gets a glimpse of him. And they just started busting up. Those guys used to pull these jokes all the time. One time Les Paul flew into LA, back into LA, and what was it? There's I forget the name of the club, but my dad and Les were driving, and he goes up and Les says, "Well, who's playing there tonight?" He says, "You are. I just booked you." I mean, it's just so many stories of the days, man.
Speaking of Les Paul, I got a funny story about Les Paul. It was 2000, and Seymour. I wish Seymour was here because he probably would get a kick out of it. And I still lived in LA, and then Les Paul was playing at the House of Blues on Sunset Boulevard. I think it's Sunset Boulevard, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah. So anyway, so he invited us and all that. So we're and I think Slash was there and some other place. Anyway, so finally it was Les Paul and his trio, and he was playing, and it was like he was all happy and all that. And all of a sudden, he got up, went backstage, and then the band is playing, and he went. I'm not talking about 20 seconds. He was gone for 5 minutes. Now, it was, I think, a month before that he had a heart attack. So Seymour and I are looking at each other. It's like, and you see the band is looking at each other too, but they didn't know. Nobody knew what happened. And finally, Les Paul comes back into stage, and he was like, I swear to God, it's like, somebody has batteries. I just lost the battery on my hearing. and there was like the front row, like an old lady was like, I got one. But I mean, Les Paul was like this, I mean, it was just a joker.
Yeah, he was.
Knew him.
He was.
Hey, Sage, you've got Mike from Ontario, Mike Granka from Ontario.
Where?
To say hello.
I don't see him.
No, just commenting in the chat.
Yeah. What is he saying?
Ontario, he's here in SoCal.
Yeah. What is Mike saying?
He's just saying hello. Wanted to let you know.
Say hi for me.
And Sandra, Leah. And Sandra.
Paul, answering your question, I think, and again, I won't be able to know, but just hearing the tone of Jimmy, I will say it has to be either 13 or 14.
That's why I asked. There's a moment when Hendrix is playing at the Royal Albert Hall, and just before he plays Stone Free, he plays an open E chord to check he's in tune. And I've never heard a fatter sound in my life. Like, it's nothing to do with pedals.
No.
Yeah.
Well, Stevie Ray Vaughan is known for using a 13 and tune it down to E flat.
Yeah, and it's the fattest, heaviest, thickest sound. But you can hear the pickups, you can hear the strings, you can hear the wood in the guitar, you can hear the amp, you can hear the cab. It's like, and when I hear Jimmy Bryant play, I kind of get that vibe that there's some real heavy duty strength in the hands just fascinating stuff. So John, I'm really grateful to be able to ask you that question, and I appreciate your attempts to answer it. I bought that CD, Jimmy Bryant and Speedy West. I don't know why I bought this CD, and I think I paid like £2.50 for it. I don't know why I bought it. I heard Speedy West on the radio or something like that, and I thought, oh, there's a CD on eBay for a couple of quid, So I buy this CD, and it's like 1947 or something. It's like so, and it's like this is like Malmsteen in the 40s, you know.
Yes, yes, I know.
But
Yeah,
better. But better. Forgive me.
yeah,
But better. I'm sorry, Ingvi.
yeah. Steve, I will get to you in a second, but I want to say something continuing on that subject of the heavy strings. I'm gonna say something, and it's kind of like a breaking news kind of a thing. And Paul, you're going to enjoy that. Greg, probably you too. One of the things that I've been working on for the past 3 years with Eric, and I'm not gonna say too much about it, but when it comes out, one of the many things you could do, you're gonna be able to get that fat, maybe Jimmy Bryant strings without changing your strings.
Oh, that would be useful.
Okay, so just hold on and wait. But yes, you know, it's you'll be able to. Steve, are you with us? Oh, there's Seymour. Let me see. Hold
Yes,
on,
sir.
Seymour, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello, Seymour. Welcome back.
Woo, but there's some echo going on.
Welcome back.
But I tried it through Chrome, and I still couldn't get in. So.
Okay, but we can hear you. That's good. So Seymour, let me just ask Steve a question because he's been here, and finally
Right, yeah.
he got rid of his alien voice, and he sounds like
Oh, is that-
human right now.
Oh boy.
How you doing, Steve?
All right. Is there,
Yeah.
Can you hear me fine? Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. We'll see for
Yeah.
how long, but we can hear you fine.
Right. All right. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what's
man.
been going on with you for the past 2 years?
Yeah. Long story short, last year I released my first solo album, Amplitudes.
Oh.
And don't know if you can see it here, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
crazy time, obviously releasing a record during COVID, and I haven't been able to really tour or do any shows for it to promote it.
Yeah, perfect time releasing it,
I
right?
know, yeah, it's been a real drag, but I've been working on my second solo album, and Mr. Steve Travado is playing on it.
Nice.
Oh, that's great. And you know, we were
Yeah.
supposed to have Steve, and he have some difficulties logging on.
Yeah,
And also Richard Bennett. So, you know, I'm really
Yeah.
sorry we couldn't have them, but yeah.
yeah, man. But yeah, I'm fixing to release my second solo album here, and just looking forward to that. And I'm hoping I get to play some shows to kind of promote it.
I think we're all kind of ready to
Oh
just
man,
have just a smell of music, you know.
yes, absolutely.
We all miss it.
Smell of tubes burning.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Where do you live, Steve?
Smell
I'm
the
in
beer.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So Seymour,
get
you were
out there.
saying something, and then you said Les Paul, and then we lost you.
Can you hear me now still?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do this quick. Anyway, I was a young kid, and I was invited to see this musician, and the stage opened up, and they were playing How High the Moon, and it was Les Paul and Mary Ford. So
Yeah.
anyway, I watched the whole show and blah blah blah, and Mary had this beautiful, like a pinkish white dress, just beautiful looking. And after the show, my Uncle Bid said, "Come on." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Come on, we're going to go backstage." So I went back, and I started to look all around, and there's all this not computers, but stacked reel-to-reel tape recorders and everything. And so I went over and I said, "Hi, Mr. Paul." I said, "I just love the show, And he says, "Are you a guitar player?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm trying to learn and everything." And so we sat there and on this little bench, and he drew out how the pickup worked and everything, and I was like fascinated by it. He drew the magnet and coil wire, and he hooked this up, and you put it under the string, and he said, "Do you know why a magnet is inside a guitar pickup?" And I looked, my dad looked, and we all said, no, not really. Does anybody out there know why there's a magnet in a guitar pickup?
Nope.
Nope.
Put-
Nope.
Pulling the vibration and the overtones of the vibrated strings.
Well, okay, what it is he said it was to magnetize the string. So when the string that was magnetized would move across the coil, it would induce a current, and that's how you get the sound coming out of a guitar pickup, which is
Okay.
really kind of neat. So I studied that, and then I saw this gear, this little black box on his guitar. And I said, Mr. Paul, what is that black box with the buttons on it on your guitar for? He says, son, he said, that's what I call a pulverizer. And what it is it was a little box where he could control the tape recorders that weren't behind the stage that nobody could see. So he could hit a button, rewind the tape, and then hit another button and play another track on the recorder, and then that would, he could do the multi-tracking that way, and he was doing it on stage. So he played a rhythm part, go back, and then you go diddle it, diddle it, diddle it, diddle it, diddle it, diddle it. So, and then that would be added to it, and then he could do dear, 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 with all this stuff in the background playing, which was so cool. And when you're a 12, 13-year-old kid and you see that, you're just like totally amazed. I mean, I was amazed by it. And then, but somewhere in my storage, I still have the drawing he did of how a pickup worked and everything, which was so cool.
Wow. Wow.
And for me, and then years later, I had a neighbor who broke into her house, and I had all my 45s on a rack in the basement, and some kid took them and used them for frisbees and threw them down this hill, and they were all stuck in the tree. All my Les Paul Mary Ward records and everything. So later on, I wrote Les and Mr. Paul, and I said, Mr. Paul, are you going to re-release the old records again? I told him what happened. And about 3 months later, I got 3 box sets from Capitol with there was 3 or 4 albums in each box that had all the recordings on it. So it was like so neat. So I still have all that stuff. So I got a lot of cool memorabilia from him. So for me, that was really a cool story, which I love.
Seymour, when we lost you a second ago, I told the guys the story. Do you remember when we went to see Les Paul at the House of Blues in LA and he lost his battery when on his hearing aid and he went out behind stage?
Yep. And what was funny, he said, does anybody out there have a hearing aid battery? And it was all quiet, and all of a sudden, I do. and this little lady actually had one that would fit his hearing aid, and it was pretty amazing that somebody had it, out there, and the lady was Skunk Baxter's mother.
Oh, that was her?
Hilarious.
That was her?
Wow.
Oh, that's funny.
That was her.
Oh, that's
I know.
funny.
I was like, holy man.
All right.
Cool.
That's funny. Do we have anybody else new over here? No, it's all the same. So, Greg, what's your next? What's tomorrow? Are you at like 5 a.m.? Do your 50-second?
Tomorrow's Saturday, so I'm free.
Oh, you're free?
Yes, which would be great.
Oh, I got you.
Well, so to speak. But we're just putting the finishing touches on our next record with the trio that I have with my son and the organ player.
Right.
But we're trying to figure, we're getting all the artwork done and we're getting it all locked and loaded. And I'm figuring when's the best time to release it. Because as Steve was saying, there's no use putting out a record if you can't go out and promote it per se. So we're kind of in the midst of just getting that ready to rock. And then I have another True Fire course coming out. I had to proofread the tab stuff today. And so that's coming out soon. I got a bunch of shows coming up in February, but I'm very,
leery about it.
Great. Yeah, leery. Leery is the word. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'd love to do them, but, if it doesn't make sense to do them, I'm not going to do them. So, but then there's dealing with that.
Great.
No.
Great. Are you able to do a live broadcast over YouTube?
Oh, yeah.
Your new album?
Yeah, we've been doing all that stuff. That's been great. In the quality, the sound quality and the camera, that sounds great, looks great. So we can definitely do that, and we've been continuing to do that. So we released one record during COVID, and we promoted it on the streams, and we did fine. I mean, it went great, and we're this time I'm going to see if I can. It's always weird hiring promo people for these records. Because, my favorite thing about hiring a publicist, they'll call you. I was like, okay, great. Who do you know? I'm like, Why do you want to know who I know? I want to know who you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, let me ask
Pete
you.
Sabato.
I know.
Hey, Greg, I wanted to ask you if you still had your giant guitar pick I gave you at NAMM a few years ago.
I probably do have that somewhere. I remember that doggone thing. God bless you.
Hey, Greg, you're talking about releasing your album, and you don't know if you're going to have any shows to promote it. Can't you do your live shows on what it's called, nugs.net?
Well, with the live thing, we tried to suss out what was the best way to do all the different stuff. When I'm sure you guys have all gone through this of figuring out what's the best way to do shows. Is it doing a gated stream someplace or doing whatever else? And we just figured that when we go live simultaneously on Facebook, YouTube. We got a Twitch thing and all that other kind of crap. So,
Right.
and we reach a good amount of people, and the sales have been great. I really can't complain. So, I'm not afraid to release it again that way. But at the same token, if I know that there's going to be a potential, because I have a sinking, not a sinking feeling. I got a pretty good feeling that this wave is going to kind of rise and then fade out.
That's what I'm thinking.
And then what they're saying, is that if this Omicron is going to make everybody less susceptible to the more virulent strains in terms of severity of disease, well, then hopefully that means that, maybe in spring gigs will start happening again.
Right.
That is, of course, if, some other kind of hellacious pestilence doesn't develop. But
well, yeah, now they're talking about a new one in France, so God knows what that is, but I guess we'll see. But hey, you know of nugs.net?
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, well, I didn't know about it too until I stumbled upon it. It's a website that you actually sell tickets to live stream your shows, and there's some major bands over there. I'm not talking about like a D class band. I'm talking about like So try that, because you can literally sell a live stream show.
Bandcamp has a facility that you can do that with as well.
Bandcamp. The only problem I find with that is that in my situation, since I do so many live streams a week that are free, trying to get people to go to a gated stream at that point, I'm better off doing a stream where I know people will tune in and then they can tip as much as they want. And to be honest, they've been pretty generous. Of course, I think everyone knows the story that when it first started. When COVID first started, like the first 6 months, the streams were like, we were making so much money. You're like, why would I ever play out again? And then at some point, it got to the point where, we still make good money, but it's not as much.
Yeah.
And people are still generous, and, it's decent money. I mean, it's still, for most people, it's better than they would make, at a club gig locally. But,
I'm sure the vibe is different.
I thought of the whole gated thing, and it makes sense if you're able to, again, because I do so much free stuff, it's hard to drive people to a gated thing, and then then you just know there's only X amount of people going to that. Whereas if I do something that goes live and I have my tip information on there, I get money rolling in, in perpetuity. You know what I mean? People see it. So
one of the things about the streaming that I've found is, as much as I love it and I enjoy it enormously, and so do the people who tune in, it seems, is having the ability to refresh the set every week. I find I've got like, I don't know, 50 or 60 backing tracks, and I'll try and do those numbers. I did that number last week, I better not do that this week. And my initial idea with the streams were to bring people in, to have a bass player, a drummer, and a keyboard player in here. And I started streaming about 3 years ago. I'd had no one had even heard of bloody COVID-19, So this whole situation happens. And it's like, well, I didn't expect to be sitting here alone for 3 years playing the guitar. I wanted people to come in and join me. So I'm kind of like, I think the UK I know you've got different states in the US have dealt with this in different ways, but we've got a bit of a, not wanting to get into politics, but we've got a bit of a cavalier prime minister here who kind of, is prepared to do anything basically without. Right, I don't say any more about that, Paul.
Yeah, probably.
So we're kind of opening up. And we have done some shows in Germany. We've played in Netherlands. We played in Spain. And we played in Belgium. And
Right.
it's the craziest thing. I mean, you're wondering if the gig's going to be cancelled the day before. Let me tell you. I'll tell you one story. You have to have this. The first time we travelled, you have to have this test. Okay, and it has to be 24 hours before the flight leaves the tarmac. Okay,
Right.
so the drummer and I did the test in London the day before we travelled, and they wouldn't let us get on the plane because the test was 2 minutes outside of the 24-hour restriction.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's the truth. That's the absolute truth.
Well, I was supposed to fly and see my mom. I haven't seen my mom for 2 years, and I've canceled my flight 3 times. For me, flying from the U.S. all the way to Israel, we have to do a 72 hours test before we even get to the airport.
Yeah.
So, and I'm kind of thinking, okay, well, I do it 72 hours before. What happened if I got with somebody a day after I did the test? And then I'm going to be on a plane for 12 hours, which it's another half a day of incubation. So, I mean, I just don't get it. I don't know.
No.
But it makes traveling such a
Right.
That's why I don't fly domestic. I think Greg, I mean, I'm sure Seymour knows, and some of the other. I got my little RV, and I just drive. I think flying became such a hassle that it's almost like if you can do it without flying, that's the best way. And
I agree.
I haven't flown for 5 years domestically.
Another great thing where they say this, you landed wherever, Frankfurt or London, and they say, please try to observe social distancing when leaving the aeroplane.
Oh yeah.
And we get on this bus on the tarmac. We get on the bus to go back to the terminal, and we're like this, like sardines in a can.
Oh my God! Yeah,
And please observe social distancing. It's it's insanity.
It's ridiculous. I know. There's one thing Seymour is missing is courtside Arizona.
Oh yeah, that's this week too.
It is. I don't know if a lot of people over here know. Seymour does Arrowheads. You guys know about it?
No.
Arrowheads.
No. Oh, come on. You didn't send Greg some Arrowheads and stuff?
I can, yeah.
Yeah, Seymour does Arrowheads. Like, I mean, he takes them from, get the rocks and makes Arrowheads.
I remembered, Seymour, remember you told me that you shared an interest in this with Danny Gatton. He was interested in this as well. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yeah,
a long time ago, yes.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we used to go arrowhead hunting together up in Canada and everything, and we had a great time. So,
wow,
miss him too.
Yeah, right.
Miss him, Roy Buchanan. Jeez, man.
I know.
All my hero.
So Seymour, what is that thing that if you have to go back, that changed your life as far as music? That either something you heard or you saw that was like, it's like an explosion.
Well, for me, it was James Burton on the Ozzie and Harriet show.
Was
it? At the end, Ricky would sing a song and he would come out, and then there was like Dwayne Eddy on the Dick Clark show way back out of Philadelphia, and my first record I was ever given by my uncle, who taught me my first chords, Howard Duncan, that was my dad's brother, was Jimmy Bryant and Speedy West, two guitars, country style. And then and my uncle said, boy, if you can play like this, you're a guitar player. And to this day, I still can't play like that. I mean, that, it was just phenomenal playing, and back in '53 they were doing this stuff. You know, it was incredible. You know, and
Yeah.
but you know all the telly guys. You know, Jimmy Bryant. And then there was Neil Levang, who was on the Lawrence Welk show. He was another big influence. Why? Because you could see him. I was lived in a country, and we had 3 TV channels, and I could watch it. You know, so that was about it. There was a couple other stories in between, but those guys were my big influence. You know, Chet Atkins, of course. You know,
Steve, what about you?
so that was it.
Oh goodness. Oh man. As far as influences, yeah, Chet Atkins for sure. I mean, golly. Um, yeah, him. I liked, of course, Tommy Emmanuel, amazing player. You know, I
Right.
love him.
Right.
But
Uh,
Dwayne Eddy, I got to meet him at NAMM a couple of
Right.
years ago, a few years back. That was awesome. Of course, I grew up on him. The first song I ever learned to play was Rebel Rouser. That was
Right.
it. I loved it, you know. And of course, I've been hooked ever since. And
Right.
but yeah, for those of you guys that may not know, my cousin, I have a cousin that owns Georgetown Masters, a mastering studio here in town in Nashville. And Tom Bresch told me a silly story about him one time that I'd like to share with you. You know, and some of this newer country stuff, kind of the rap country stuff kind of coming out, you know, my cousin didn't like that stuff very much. You know, it wasn't like his favorite kind of music.
Right.
So Tom Bresch said he walked in my cousin's mastering studio one afternoon, and there's my cousin Denny working. Tom says, "What's up? What's going on?" And my cousin says, "Well, the music sucks, but it sounds great." And I appreciate him sharing that story with me. I always loved hearing the stories about my cousin there back in the day, but
That's
always
cool.
thought it was funny.
That's cool. I'm going over the list over here. Paul, what was the thing that changed your life?
There was 2 things, and I don't know which was the most powerful. They were both dynamite. A friend of mine brought over a Hendrix album. It's the white album cover with a painting of Jimmy sitting on a stool playing the 12-string acoustic.
Yeah, from the movie.
From the movie, correct. And the Star Spangled Banner on that particular record is cut, and the first thing you hear is the open B string, and then the G sharp, and then the E. Down, down, down. And there was no lead into it. There was no, you know, like when you see the movie, he's improvising and he's jamming, and then it was cut. The tape was cut on the front of that open B string of that descending E major triad. And I thought to myself, Jesus Christ Almighty, what's this? I was not prepared. You know, every other guitar player I'd heard had some kind of, I'd never heard such rawness and wildness as that, you know.
Right. And the
and
second
also, the second thing would be Richie Blackmore's Black Knight, the live Black Knight from Made in Japan, where he's doing that feedback.
Yes.
And I was like 13-year-old, and my brother thought we were being invaded by aliens. It's just, what the fuck's going on? What's that noise? It's Richie Blackmore. But just a quick story. Living in Newcastle, this is Chas Chandler's hometown, you know. And Chas Chandler found Hendrix. Okay, so
right.
I went to school with Chas Chandler's nephew, and he told me a few stories. And when Chas brought Jimmy over to London, he had to come to Newcastle to sell some basses to fund the project. So Jimmy lived in Newcastle, right, for like 2 weeks, and there's houses with signs saying Jimi Hendrix lived here for, you know, Jimi Hendrix played here. And while they were up here in Newcastle, Chas took Jimmy to a bar in a part of town called Shieldfield, and Jimmy played one set, and between the first set and the second set, the committee man who ran the club went up to Chaz with the £5 or the whatever it would be, small fee, and he said to Chaz, he gave Chaz the £5, and he says, "We don't want the second set. It's shite."
Oh my god. That's funny.
Yeah.
John, I know you're not a guitar player, you're a drummer, but still, you're a musician. So what was the thing that changed your life? There
just isn't one, because I've been around the business my whole life. But I will say, Paul, that I was stationed over in England for 3 years between 89. What is it? 89 to 92.
Mm-hmm.
And not one of the good things was I lived right near Alan White, drummer. Yes, and him and Gigi got married, and but we'd sit in his backyard, and that was just so much fun, because when they got married, just everybody came over. Jimmy Page. I was standing waiting to go to the loo, and I turn around, Jimmy Page is behind me. I didn't know what to say. I mean, I was only 19 years old, right? And the only thing I could say is, "Oh, do you know Jimmy Bryant?" And he says, "Oh yeah, he's brilliant, from Nashville." And I said, "Yeah, that's my dad." And so, and that's it. I could not say anything more. But the thing was, we would just drive into London, like Hammersmith Odeon, and we'd show up just to see who was playing. All of a sudden, you'd see Deep Purple.
Yeah.
These great bands. I mean, it was just such a great time. But I mean, also it was the punks and the skinheads, and that was a weird time. But I loved being in England. I'd love to get up to where you're at. I mean, I did get up to Scotland and Edinburgh, but I guess I missed you on that trip. So,
well, if you're in the area, you're welcome. My name's Rose, and it's a Scottish name. I descend from the north, and I highly recommend, if you're interested. Van Halen opened for Black Sabbath on the UK tour in 1978 when the first album had just come out. Okay, and the sound man recorded them because he knew what was going to happen, right? So you've got all these people who've gone to see Black Sabbath, and they've got some Dutch heavy metal band. That's what the vibe was before the show. Oh, it's some Dutch heavy metal band opening for Sabbath. And the sound man was recording these shows, right? Now, if you go on YouTube and put Van Halen, Hammersmith Odeon 78, and you listen to that show, it's incredible. It's unbelievable. That band was so tight, and Eddie was everything about it's brilliant. And there's London, there's Ipswich, Newcastle, Manchester, and those shows where Van Halen are opening for Sabbath, and like literally they knew what the first album had just come out, and nobody knew who they were. And
that's cool.
Well, that there was only 3 channels when I was over there on TV.
That's right.
And then the fourth one came, ATV or whatever. But there was a Friday night rock show on radio every Friday night, and I would record those on cassettes. And we were all partying, us GIs in my house, and all of a sudden, this guy comes on that radio show when we were over there in England, and they said, "Oh, I just want to see, introduce a new band out of LA." And I told everybody, wait, who is this? Said, this is a band called Van Halen. And they started playing that, and we just went crazy.
Right.
But I still have that cassette, that recording of that.
Still have it?
Radio and it was just incredible to hear Van Halen for the first time. But
let me tell you, and I don't want to take anybody else's time, but I just want to share this thing with you. A guy said to me, "I've got a ticket for Black Sabbath at Newcastle. Do you want it?" And I went, "No, not interested. I don't like Tony Iommi, and I don't like Ozzy Osbourne." Well, I was like 14, right? 13 or 14. The next day, everybody was talking about this support band. It was Van Halen. And this guy said to me, he said, I sat in the front row for the Black Sabbath gig, and he says there was a Marshall cabinet with no vinyl on it, a 4x12 cab with no vinyl on it, a 100-watt head on it. And he said, and I sat and I looked at this amp and I just thought, it's the support act, it's the opening act, it's irrelevant. It was Eddie Van Halen's gear. And nobody knew that in 30 seconds, Edward Van Halen was going to walk out onto that stage and absolutely obliterate everybody. And the last thing I'll say about it, I'm so disappointed I didn't take that ticket. My friend was the biggest Black Sabbath fan in the world. Like, Sabbath, 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 Sabbath. That's all he cared about. And the bar at Newcastle City Hall is in the basement. And he's in the bar, and he's heard a rumour that there's a Dutch heavy metal band opening for Sabbath. Well, who gives a shit about that, right? So he says, I have never walked away from a pint in my life. He says, we heard that band open up upstairs, and he said it was like someone had said a bomb was going to go off in that bar. He says, they were running up the stairs to get into the auditorium. And people were leaving for the Sabbath gig. People weren't staying for Sabbath. They were so blown away by this new guy, this new band with the singer and everything. So anyway, that's just a story. And I was offered a ticket for that show. The recording of that is on YouTube as well. Van Halen, Newcastle City Hall, 78. What
cool.
The big regret.
Greg, what about you?
Well, I would have to say, I roomed with my brother who's 14 years older than I am, and there were 5 girls in between. So my brother and I roomed together. I was this little punk, and for some reason, I started listening to his Hendrix records really early on. I was absolutely fascinated with Hendrix, and we only had a few of them. He had Band of Gypsies. He posthumously released Cry of Love, and he had Axis Bold as Love. And when I was a little kid, when I still took naps, I would force my sisters to put on Axis Bold as Love so I could, that's what I needed to listen to before I would go to sleep. But I remember I would talk to my brother, like, who is this guy? And he's like, listen, you don't know anything until you hear Electric Ladyland. And he would talk about this record like it was the Scrolls. You know what I mean? Like it was the secret of all humanity. So I remember he went out to a party one night, and he came home and he had borrowed Electric Ladyland from one of his buddies. And so here I am, this punk kid, and I'm waking up, and the first thing I hear is Still Raining, Still Dreaming the Wall. Wow, wow. And I remember it to this day, and I remember just going and brushing my teeth, just going, what did I just hear? And I came back, and then that's when I knew I was destined to do that. I don't know when it was going to happen, but I was going to do that. And another time when my brother was, he used to sit down in front of his little record player, and he would, listen reverentially to whoever he was listening to. And I was with my young buddies, and we were running around the house playing guns or whatever you do at that age. And I walked in, and my brother's sitting in front of the stereo, and I was like, what are you doing? And he looked at me. He goes, this is Jack Bruce, Ginger Baker, and Eric Clapton, collectively known as the Cream, the greatest band in the history of the world. And I just remember hearing that and just going, oh my God. So I wanted to play like Cream, Eric Clapton, and Hendrix. That's what I wanted. And then I started reading, I got this Hendrix book, when I was in 3rd grade, I did a report on Jimi Hendrix. And I remember reading this thing, and they were mentioning, Muddy Waters and B.B. King and Howlin' Wolf and Albert King. And so I knew that I had to check out these other people as well. So Hendrix was really the thing that made me want to play. And, to me, Hendrix was cooler. The idea of the musician, especially the guitar player, it wasn't like, they're like metaphysicians. You know what I mean? They were communicating with the astral plane. You know what I mean? They were cooler than any sports figure or movie star or whatever the case may be. I mean, they were like cooler than anybody, Yeah. So that's really what made me want to pursue it. And I've been suffering ever since. I'm just kidding.
That's funny. That's cool. Eric Ingram.
Listen,
John,
sorry. On that note, I unfortunately I have to get going, but
okay.
It was so much fun hanging out with all you guys. Paul, great to meet you. Steve,
And you.
again, Seymour, and of course, Sage, great to see you. And
Thank you,
John,
man, and I'll
always
be
a
in
pleasure
touch
to
with you
see you as
soon.
well. It's been a long time, my friend, and hope to see you all again soon. Eric, take it easy.
Yes.
You too. Good to meet you.
Hey,
Likewise.
thanks, Greg, and I'll be in touch with you soon. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Have a good one, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Take care, Greg. Good night. Good night.
So, John, you're not the only drummer in here. So, Eric is a drummer too.
Right.
So Eric, to you now, what was the thing that changed your life?
There's
music.
there's some similar themes to what you guys were saying in a sense, because first, before hearing some of the bands that you guys mentioned, I grew up in this pretty musical household, and so there was a good bit of the good old jazz from the 50s that on the records my dad had, and folk music. He's families from the Tennessee, Virginia area, so we had a lot of really good folk music growing up. And then I was born in the 60s, so that means that I was listening to the pop radio and the bands coming out in the 70s and so on. So some of the same folks, I'm a drummer. I was, drawn to that when I was really, really young. I ended up carving a pair of drumsticks out of a broom handle when I was a little kid. So it was kind of gonna happen. But so I was attracted to some of the same folks, like Ian Pace for Deep Purple. He's just one of my all-time heroes. He's got chops. He's just unreal. And also folks like of course Alex Van Halen. He's one of those guys that has crazy chops, but he has also really great taste, and that's also that's one of the really important things that's always attracted me to the music that I like is the song, and then the talent that can go into creating this song and this whole feeling and so on. So there's that, but then there's other folks. There's a lot of studio guys from back in the day. There's Steve Gadd. There's Peter Erskine. There's a lot of drummers I would seek out, and I'd go to a lot of clinics. Atlanta was great in the 80s. I guess it was the late 80s and 90s. They would have these top-notch drummers that would come through and do clinics, from some of the best bands of the day, like Rod Morgenstein, killer drummer from the Dregs. So, those type of guys. And then also folks that supported people that were on the radio at the time. Maybe somewhat of a lesser known person, Robert Ellis, who played for PJ Harvey back in the day. Really good taste, but good chops. And then who else? There's just pretty varied taste. So I can't say that there's any one that stands out as the absolute favorite, but a lot went into the mixture.
I got you. Before I'll share mine, if anybody interested, I do have kind of like a drum story. It was maybe 14 years ago. My wife and I went to Watercolor. Do you guys know what Watercolor is in Florida? Right next to Seaside. Okay. Never been there? Okay. It's literally right next to Seaside. So anyway, so we went on vacation, and there was a club there. I think it's called the Red House or something. So it was like a restaurant with live music. So we went there because we wanted to have something that has live music. So there was like a small, like a trio band there, and they were playing kind of like a jazz funk kind of a thing. And somehow I was drawn to the drummer because the groove that was going on there was out of this world. And then at the end of the show, I kind of like asked the waitress, who's that band? And she said, that's James Brown, drummer. And I was like, you are kidding me. And he was nice. I mean, I called him and all that. And Seymour, if you can hear me. Oh, he left. But I think Seymour knew him. And I told him, I said, hey, I'm Seymour Duncan assistant. And he says hello. But he was he was so nice. He sat down with us, but man, his drumming was out of this world. I remember for almost an hour and a half, I was mesmerized.
That's an awesome groove, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So if we go to what changed my life as far as music and guitar, and I'm almost embarrassed to say because you guys over here mentioned some hot shots and heavy rock and stuff, but as a young kid, around 10 is that when I kind of like started getting into guitar, and David Gilmour was the thing for me.
Great.
But then one day on the radio, I heard that really beautiful melody on a nylon string, not on electric guitar. And when that tune was over, the disc jockey was saying that was Mark Knopfler from the movie Local Hero. And if you guys remember that soundtrack, it's not the Local Hero that everybody remember with the electric guitar that later on comes with drums and all that. The second track on that album, it's like a classical guitar with a piano. And that sound, and I think it might have even been an Ovation acoustic. I can't remember, but it does sound like, or maybe Ovation nylon string. But Paul, if you have a chance to dig out the soundtrack Local Hero, go for the second track on the album.
Okay.
That thing changed my life.
Right.
From that point and on.
Yeah.
And of course, it was always a Gilmour Knopfler thing for me forever. But the thing that draw me into that melodic, that really nice melody, the soft touch, was that tune, the second track on the Local Hero album. That's what changed my life.
Mark Knopfler's from literally just 2 miles up the road from here. So, Spanish City's 3 miles that way, and Mark Knopfler's house is 2 miles that way. So, but we've never met. We've never met.
And you never met. Well, here's a funny story with Seymour, and Seymour probably remember that. Seymour met and knew everybody.
Of course.
And then he worked, he did stuff for Mark Knopfler forever. So here I am, a little kid from Israel, right? Becoming Seymour a personal assistant. And Seymour never physically met Mark back in the 80s. It was always through some, mailing stuff. But, they always talked. And somehow I was able to meet Mark thanks to Seymour. But then Seymour flew to England. Seymour, when was it? Like 2006, 5, maybe? Oh, we lost him again. So, yeah, Seymour, we can't hear you somehow. I don't know why. But anyway, I was able to get Seymour and Mark physically meet for the first time. And that blew me away. It's like Seymour knows everybody and he's been working with him forever and ever. But that was kind of a cool thing. But yeah, Seymour was in England. I think first time after the 70s, right, Seymour? Yeah, I don't know why we can't hear him. We lost him again.
Strange. Very strange.
Let me try to get him back. Can you try again, Seymour? No, we can't hear him. Darn it. But yeah, I think it was the first time after the 70s, after Seymour came back from England. It was the first time since then. I think in 2000, I can't remember, maybe 5, 4. So anyway, guys, I can stay here forever, but I wanna make it kind of sweet and not get people bored and all that. But is there anything that anyone want to say before we close it for the night?
Can I say it's 1 a.m. here in England, so I really must go. But although Seymour, you can't hear us, we can't hear you. Can I just say, Seymour, it's great to see you again. I haven't seen you for a couple of years, well, several years, and I hope we'll catch up on the other side of the Atlantic, and then, well, maybe this year.
Absolutely. Steve, you want to say something before we go?
Yeah. Thanks, guys. It's been great hanging out with you. And yeah, man, I'll keep you all posted on my new record and everything.
Sure.
And thank you guys so much for having me on.
Thank you, man.
Nice to
John,
meet you, Steve.
Yeah.
John,
Yeah.
Good to meet you.
I'm glad Paul and Steve got your emails.
Great.
So we'll stay in touch. And Paul, if definitely want to get over to England. I haven't been back since, and that's a goal of mine for sure. Mark Knopfler called the house one time when I was maybe 20 or 20 something, and he says, "This is Mark Knopfler." I said, "What do you?" No, it's not. And he wanted to know how Dad tuned the Stratosphere Boogie,
Right.
the guitar for Stratosphere Boogie, 12-string. I said, "Hey man, I'm a drummer. I had no idea." So we have to meet him at the pub and tell him that story. But Eric, nice to meet you. Just Seymour, I sort of want to jump on Paul's comment that we all love you, man, and it's you are the kind of guy that, man, everybody when we see you, your friends, just we value your friendship, and you've always been gracious to us, and so thank you very much. And and Sage, thanks for having us, man. I really appreciate it.
you're
Great
welcome.
talking to all of you.
Yeah, and Eric, want to say something before we all go?
Sure. Yeah. I really appreciate meeting everybody and talking with you. Sage, thanks for putting this on and inviting me. It was really good.
You're welcome. And then
Nice
let's
to meet
see
you.
if Seymour we can hear him again. Seymour, can you say something? Seymour? I guess he can't.
I think he's lost us now as
Yeah.
well.
So anyway, I'm gonna close it, and first of all, thank everybody that joined us tonight, and you guys around the world, whoever watched it. I mean, I really appreciate that, and we'll try to do it better next time with some technical difficulties. I know I have ton more questions for the people here, and I could go here for another 5 hours, but we have to make it sweet and short. And I hope that maybe you guys want to come back again and do it again
I'd
in
love
the
to.
future. But until then, let's stay safe. Seymour, can you hear us? He can't. So until then, let's stay safe, and you guys take care of yourself. Just do whatever you can to protect yourself. And I really hope we can see each other sometime soon, because I miss you all, guys. Really miss you.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
I love
Good.
you, and
Thanks,
then
brother.
we'll do it again sometime soon.
Good night, everybody.
All right. See you. Good night.
See you soon.
Bye.
John,
Thank you.
send me an email. Send me
You
an
got
email.
it, buddy.
Brilliant.
All right.
Take care,
Okay.
folks. Good
See you,
night.
Steve.
See you guys.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.